Hi, I'm Sharon Blain. Welcome to our Hairy Chats podcast. I am so proud to introduce you to Nicolas Jurnjack. I'm going to be talking live to Nicolas from Paris today, and I am going to be exploring with him the trends and what's happening as far as session styling hairdressing around the world. Nicolas has hundreds of front covers, Vogue, obviously, Elle, and so many more. He's going to talk about those and little stories that attach themselves to those covers. He's also very famous for doing lots of amazing celebrities, movie stars, and the most famous models of the world as well. He is the most unique artist, a creative artist that I most admire and look up to. So settle back, grab a coffee, and get ready for this hairy chat with the most unique man, Nicolas Jurnjack. Welcome, Nicolas.
Well, I guess, you know what, it was almost like lifetime to get in touch together. But I'm so impressed to talk to a legend.
Oh, I'm
like
talking
you.
to the legend. I am your number one stalker, I'm telling you now. I've been following your journey, and I think I first was aware of you when you came to Australia and was working for Vogue in Australia.
Yes, that was quite of an experience, I have to say, because I was just living in New York at that time, and September 11 happened. And, the industry in New York was a bit of a dead industry. And I was living downtown, like very close to the World Trade.
Oh, wow.
And I had out of the blue that offer from Kirsty Clements to Vogue Australia to join the team as a beauty director. And, it was such a strange feeling, New York at that time. And it only take me like a week to make up my mind.
Yes.
And I jump on the plane and said, well, you know what, guys, it's time to be on the beach under the palm tree.
Yes.
And to find a little bit of that summer feeling.
Yes, and to get away from the stress that you would have been in. That would have been a dreadful time to have been in New York.
Well, I was on the cab with a very famous model that morning, going to the studio to shot a cover of Allure magazine, when our agent and my agent ring us to tell us, turn back, guys, because there is a problem on the Twin Towers.
Wow.
And then out of the blue, 3 weeks down the track, I was in Australia.
Wow. Well, I was just obsessed by the things that you were doing, and, how you were doing sort of haircuts that had the hair looking like it was suspended, and all this clever photography that you were doing. I was so impressed with that. And, I started following you and reading about you, and I've been following you sort of ever since. And I know a lot of colleagues who admire so much what you do. I think it's just remarkable. You've had an incredible journey with your career, haven't you?
Well, from the start, I had to take a decision when I started that doing hair. And what carried me all over those years and for the past 35 years was to be creative.
Yes.
It was some kind of shelter, some kind of garden for me to express myself into creativity. But as you know, Sharon, because I know that I'm talking to an expert, you know that creativity do not pay. It's a choice you made in your life to dream or to make a business.
Yes.
If, most of the guys that I start with of my generation, they all shift into hair brand, hundreds of hair shops.
Yes.
And, we are only few loyal, keeping an integrity to creativity. But, there is a price to pay for that.
Well, there's not always a dollar behind some of that, unfortunately. And I think if people were to pay you for the work that's done prior to even walking in the door, it's like, you wouldn't be walking in the door because they can't afford that sort of research and development and what it takes to actually arrive with an amazing, sort of piece to photograph. That doesn't happen on the job. That happens weeks and weeks down the track, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I especially now, in the industry, as it turned now, it's on my everyday shooting in London, Paris, or New York. Everybody complain about, if I could say, the mediocre level that we land now in the fashion,
Yes.
5 years ago, you were allowed to play with hair. Now you just cannot.
No.
You just cannot. I mean, yesterday I've done a cover for Vanity Fair, and we had like that huge conversation about a ponytail in the morning, like for about an hour.
Really?
A pony. Just for a ponytail, like if I have to put it an inch higher or an inch down.
Yes.
And I mean, wow. I mean, you have to play the game for sure, otherwise you are out of the
out of the loop.
But yes, I was amazed, and my assistant was looking at me terrified and was telling me that's where the industry is about today. Like we're discussing a pony for an hour, hour, and you've got a 25-year-old fashion editor who's showing you on Instagram which kind of pony she wanted, because I'm supposed to do not know how to do it.
Of course. As we get older, we know nothing, remember?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But I mean, it became an everyday, not problem, because that's not a problem, but it became an everyday. I mean, I'm dealing with 23, 25 years old young fashion or photographers super young, and then you terrify them because probably you got the same scenario because you know too much, perhaps.
Yes.
And in the same time, we've been a part of the golden age of that industry. You and I, where all kinds of feeling were allowed, that people will call for your creativity, for your sensitivity, for your eyes, for your style,
and your skill. They call because they know you can do the job. But yes, I think Instagram is probably leading all these young people down a track that makes us frustrated, because we can do the work. And unfortunately, these people on Instagram that are very young, that have got all the followers, are doing pretty crappy hair, and that's what they're seeing as the standard now.
Yes. I mean, that's I only can approve, because I was on the phone yesterday with my agent about a job sometime in February, and she was telling me there is $50 difference between 20 guys up for the job.
Oh.
$50 offer to the client. Nicolas Jurnjack is this amount. At $50 down, you got another guy, and another, and another, and another, and another. And you know what? And they telling you that the followers on your Instagram may not help you because you hasn't got that much to get you win the job.
Oh, my God.
And it's a lost conversation to say, yes, but look, if you get this guy and these guys, you can see clearly that the followers, they just been bought. They are not real followers.
Yes.
They just buying them.
We know that.
Yeah, but the client do not see that the same way. They you know how they call them today, the influencer.
Yes, I know. And they've only just dropped out of beauty school.
2 years ago.
That's
perhaps
right.
3.
That's right.
And they don't know. I mean, because I can see your work. You know about the lights. You know that you have to learn photography basics if you want to work on photo shoots.
Yes.
You have to learn angles of the head and stuff like that. But unfortunately, in the balance, you've got followers, fake accounts against 35 years experience.
Yes.
But apparently, the client do not really see the difference.
I would hope to think, Nicolas, that your portfolio would be sufficient enough for people to realize that you are a man of the most amazing skills. Some of the things that I've seen you do, it's like, it just amazes me. Like, I wonder sometimes how you manage to make those, height-defying huge shapes, those beautiful, sleek shapes that you curve around the head and they wrap around the body. And I'm thinking, oh my God. And I'm always trying to stalk how you might have done that, or, what products you've used. And, because I just admire that skill. And I mean, these young folks wouldn't even think about that. They wouldn't know where to start. And let's hope they never know, because, at the end of the day, I don't think they have a long life in our industry. I'm sure that people will see through their lack of skills, and, and hopefully the tables will turn and they will be looking for people that have got skills and knowledge and are creative people and not just influencers.
Well, by experience, as you know, the fashion, because it's the field that I express myself, the fashion turning. Every 5-6 years, you have this crisis in the fashion.
Yes.
We had that with the grunge in the late 90s, where suddenly you were not allowed to make a girl looking beautiful. She had to be miserable. That was the end of the 90s. Then the chic came back again, etc., etc. So I got hope somehow that as the fashion repeats itself all the time and over and over again, there'll be a comeback at some point of, I won't say extravaganza, but chic, knowledge, skills. And, I've got such a hard time to find an assistant.
I will come. I'm here. Please. I'm here. I'm coming. I'll get my ticket.
Sharon, you cannot be an assistant.
Not at this age.
Can share with you. No, with you we'll be equal. There won't be assistant. I will probably blush in front of you because
I would be there in a heartbeat.
You will teach me techniques. You will teach me techniques.
Oh, I think you and I would be a great team.
I saw you working. I saw your work. I saw you working. And you could see that sometimes you're not even looking what you're doing because your fingers in your hands doing it with such a level of technicity that we could feel is totally inside. Completely accepted by us. For you, it's a walk in the park to do major hair.
Yes, but you know what? I've never, ever done the sort of work you've done. It's very, very interesting. I've never done anything for Vogue. I've never done any session work at all. I've totally devoted my time and my learning to be the most skillful person I could be, and then hopefully attract people to my classes. So I've always been about the education and trying to improve the standards and the skill set of the young people growing in our industry. But, we need someone, like I need someone to constantly inspire me. So when I click onto your page and you've put something up there and I'm thinking, oh my God, that's just incredible. That's so cool the way you've cut that piece of hair. And I know it's all in the photography and getting it all right and the timing. Yeah. But, I just, that's when I get super excited about things like that because, there's no one there's a few of you out there, but that's, you could count them on one hand, the people that really are doing things that are, artistic and, unique out there. But then I guess so at the end of the day, there's probably not a huge market for it, but it's wonderful to be able to do when the opportunity arises, isn't it?
Yeah, correct. The giving hundreds, thousands kids a future with technique. Yeah, it's such a beautiful thing. What you do is it's incredible. You give them a chance to go back in their shops and actually make the clients happy. You give them a hope. Yeah. You're opening to these people a boulevard of possibility with the techniques.
Yeah,
to me it was like when I started at 18, 19 years old. I ended up doing the collections, the fashion week, very young. I was 25 years old, and I did not assist anybody. I was never an assistant of a big name. Right. I ended up with an agent, and then I've been booked for collections. And at that time in the 90s, you were fighting against Sharon, Orvey, Sam McKnight, Julien Dies, Odile, all the big cracks, all the big names. Yes. And, at that time, they were doing extravaganza hairstyle. So as a young kid coming in the industry, to get your seat, You had to be more extravagant than these people.
Yes.
Otherwise, you won't have a place to express yourself and to get a name. So working with designers, trendy guys of that time, John Galliano, McQueen, and all these guys. I mean, these guys, there were no way to get a ponytail. They wanted I want the best hair this season, and
yes.
I wanted more than this one. I wanted bigger than Gautier, bigger
yes.
than this one, more extravagant. Can you find something? So I've been trained in a way, and I trained myself also, let's be honest.
I read that you pretty much worked on a mannequin head and perfected a look and got that down pat and then moved on to another look and until you felt that your skill set was strong enough to actually put yourself out there.
Totally. I have to confess, I mean, I know it's not really easy to say that to a young hairdresser who could listen that program or someone fan about hairstyle and stuff, but I was 20 years old, and by a pure luck, I ended up working for Vogue, but it was totally a pure luck. And I was terrified that they will ask me something that I wouldn't know. And I had to catch up with techniques because I was already doing Fashion Week, and there were so many styles that I had no idea how to do it. And at that time, there were no Sharon Blain to add, to help by video, to understand how to do a Jen Arlo, how to do an updo the right way, how to do an evening look, or how to do a Jessica Lange or Ava Gardner look. There was nobody like you at that time on the video. There was no internet to learn. Otherwise, believe me, I would have subscribed right away because I was being called on the shooting to do a 1940 hairstyle. And I was terrified because I had no idea how to do it. So I was going back home before shooting with that head and try to learn myself how they did it, So I was going to the National Library in the archives, all the hair magazine from the 40s, doing copy laser, put them on the wall and said, okay, you get your curly iron, you get the rouleaus. But there were no Sharon Blain internet at that time.
I think, Nicolas, I think you probably had some good basic skills to start there. And obviously your artistic ability has really been, important for you as well. I think that would have made a huge difference. So you can, if you've got something great to start with, anything can evolve from that, can't it? Your skills, you were capable enough to be able to break it down and make it actually happen, which is a good thing.
Well, Sharon, I have to say I was a bad boy. When they were asking me an updo 1950 for Vogue, I was starting to arguing, trying to do something else because I didn't know
you knew how to do it.
So I was opening my bag, tried to find peace, and said, "Well, guys, don't you think it's more modern to do it that way? Like the last collection." So I was really, really arguing big time because I was terrified to step on that field and not be able to deliver. Absolutely.
Wow.
It's many years down the track that I tried to improve as much as I could my technique and practicing on the weekend at night.
Well, I think you've practiced well. I think you've nailed it.
I felt insecure. I really felt insecure over 10 years at least.
Yes.
When I was already doing all the Vogue and stuff, I was still super insecure.
Do you know what? I think people. I don't. I think everyone would admit to that. Even some of the best, recognized stylists out there, I'm sure they have that moment of self-doubt, and then they struggle, with that. Sometimes, I've got a job to do and I lay awake at night and I'm nearly wanting to vomit because I'm starting to doubt myself. And then I think, hold on, you wouldn't have been asked to do this job if you couldn't do it. So for God's sake, get yourself together and get out there and do it and get your doll out and figure it out and sort it out. But, we can sort of be like that. We can sort of take that tact where we feel like we're nervous and we can't do it. But it's amazing when we're really put to the test. We can, pull a rabbit out of a hat, as you might say.
It's something you've got inside, I think.
Yeah.
If you've got this passion if you got the passion of doing hair, and if you got the vision, if you like to dream a bit in your head, if you are not too like in a cage or obsessed by trends or by whatever people will say. I work with some very famous photographers who always said the same thing. They said, there is always a way to make someone looking beautiful and gorgeous, and it doesn't always have to be the rules of the fashion editor who's telling you in the morning, do that.
Yes.
There is always a solution. There is always an angle to explore. So guys, you shouldn't feel, terrified about things like that. I mean, I've got assistants when I have them to just do a base. They know how to do it. It takes sometimes 2 hours. I have to say, guys, they're going to shoot you. I'm going to have to do it. Today you say it early in the conversation.
Yes.
They are just interested about the buzz they can put on social media.
Yes.
It's not about make the girl looking amazing. It's who loves me, who think that I'm great.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not anymore about, they will stay an hour on Instagram and they will try to do the hair in 10 minutes.
Oh my God.
It's crazy. I have to tell my assistant sometimes, hey guys, put the phone down. There is some texture there. What are you doing? And you know what? I have changed a lot, assistants, and I'm still facing the same thing. I just think that nowadays, that's how they are.
Well, you have to make a rule. You have to make the rule and say there'll be no phones because nothing's allowed to be sent out, until it's launched. And that's what I try to say that. They manage to get a CD outside or something, or to pretend going to the restroom. And you can see later on during the day that image being posted. So, it's very hard to escape that kind of thing. But, I will stay loyal to myself and keep doing. I know I don't make much friends at the moment in the fashion, even if I'm still doing magazine and stuff. Just in December, I had 4 Vogue story out and 2 bazaar and some covers of Elle, Vanity Fair. I did not post anything. Wow.
Because Sharon, honestly, you get that sensibility. Why would I post on my Instagram just a low ponytail for Vogue blah blah or Vogue blah blah?
Yes.
Does the kids who's looking my page, does the people will get inspired? If just for the sake of saying, hey guys, I'm doing Vogue every month.
Yes.
Yeah, but if you're not doing a beautiful, inspiring thing, why should I post that image for?
That's right.
I do not post anymore the last Vogue, the last bazaar, because I considered that that's not an inspiration. I'm happy to do it. Don't get me wrong. Thank you, the industry, but I'm not going to post that.
Yeah.
Because you're not inspiring anybody.
Well, you're not inspiring yourself.
Yes. And you look at the news, everything is depressing. Everybody's seeing a future come. I don't want to post something that is not actually create a little bit of a thought in mind of hairdressers, hairstylists, and say, oh, that's funky, oh, that's cool. I don't know, for a second, for a minute, just look at the image, enjoy it, and say, oh, that's fun. I'm super happy already if someone thinks, oh, that's fun. But just putting for my own egomania a cover of Vogue just with a hair back, basic. What for? To just for my ego? I have 100 covers of Vogue. I don't need to put another one and keep people thinking, oh wow, it's great, he has done Vogue. No, I prefer to put something crazy that I get few kids thinking, oh, I'll try tomorrow to do that.
Yeah, and that's being true to yourself, which I think is the most important thing.
Yeah, I think so too.
Tell me, you're a great sketch artist, I noticed. Have you been to sort of school to learn sketching, or is this just a natural ability?
Well, when I was starting in very late 80s, early 90s, I end up in Fashion Week. At that time, designers like Kenzo, Dina Ricci, Saint Laurent, whatever, they will ask you to do sketches.
Mm-hmm.
So, or you will hire someone and tell a bit about your idea, and they will do sketches for you. Or you had to do it yourself.
Yes.
And there were most of the time asking you about 10 to 15 different ideas for a show. So I was not gifted for that. I had a little bit of a feeling to trying to represent what I was talking with words. And you are doing Fashion Week. Okay. You will have a first meeting with the designer, the PR, makeup artist, the consulting stylist. And they will tell, okay, we go punk, but we don't want a punk like that. We want more punk this way, blah, 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 blah. Could you do a few sketches and send it to us in the next 4 days? So you had, unfortunately, to grab your pencil, a piece of paper, and try to do an idea to represent a little bit your vibe. Then that drawings will be sent to the designer, and some of them will be picked up and selected and sent it back to you with annotation saying, okay, could you do that in blue hair? Could you do that in copper? We have 6 black hair girls. Mm-hmm. Could you do 6 blonde? Blah, blah. So for a decade, we all had to do drawing and sketching. A lot of us, because going to the library, searching for reference, doing copy laser at that time was way too much time.
Yes.
So and some designers were feeling that with words, it was not enough for them. They want you to represent.
They wanted the visual.
In sketches. Exactly. They want to be sure. So sometimes they were sent back the sketches and said, no, we don't like that. Could you do something else? So it was basically like doing a hair fitting at home with paper.
Yeah.
Today you turn up on a hair fitting and on Instagram, they show you and say, we want that.
Yes.
That's all.
There it is. Well, it makes it easy, but I must say your sketching looks fantastic. I thought it was really good.
No, but that's how I start to do sketches.
Yes.
And I collect them in the shoebox for years and years and years. I collect them in the shoebox and I find them a couple of years ago. And some of them were really amazing because I had an atelier in Paris where I was preparing the show with 20 assistants, and we were sticking the sketches on the wall. And sometime after the collection, the assistant were telling me, can I grab this one for me? Could you sign this one for me? And I was very cool and said, yeah, you can grab them all if you want. And 20 years later, I called all my assistants, they are still good friends, and said, do you by chance kept any of these sketches? Oh, yes, I got them all. And when so it was hilarious because a year and a half ago, I collect them back all. I scan them all to get them in a hard drive, and I give them back for sure.
Oh.
But it was amazing because I rediscovered sketches that I totally forgot about it. Totally forgot. And then I was looking at it and I was telling myself, wow, you are so passionate. I mean, you are crazy because I was doing little details and things, arrows to make sure they get the texture and the designer. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, I won't regret the time because it was so much work, but I think you had to, if you were not skilled to do any sketches at that time, I really wouldn't know how you could get a show.
Yes.
Because that was the only way.
Yes.
That was the only way. Only way. I remember some sketches that I had to send to Alexander McQueen, and in front of me, he grabbed a pencil and correct the hair on my own sketches and said, that's how I want it.
Wow. Now, I noticed you've got a book out that was launched in 2017. What's the book all about? I didn't realize until I checked yesterday. So I've got to find this book. Whereabouts can we get it to start with?
Well, initially, I was not supposed to do a book. Initially, a famous French writer, invite on a lot of French radios, has done a lot of book about artists, etc., asked me if I wanted to do an interview on 10 to 15 pages for an art magazine about the conception of volume, conception of texture. I mean, you know all that because you're swimming on it every day, Sharon. So, and from that conversation, this writer came back to me and said, you know what, you have so much to say about this industry. Perhaps we should do 150 pages with a manuscript, you know, not something that's too big. And then at the end of the day, we end up having 4,000 pages. Oh. And we had to cut down to 1,000 and to 800 to 400 to turn into a book. And for about 4 years, every Thursday, I would receive on my mail 20 questions that I had to answer, writing or thinking over Skype.
Yeah.
Or this French writer was telling me, if you are in LA, New York, in location, in a airplane, every Thursday, please tell me what happened around you. Talk to me about the steward in the plane wearing a hairstyle, why she's wearing that. Yes. The lady sitting next to you, what's her hair about? Something, anything, talk to me as much as you can. Okay, so we did that. And the concept of the book is question and answer. There is no photography in it. There is just a couple of drawings, because sometimes I'm talking about some situations on the shows or on the shooting, and I have actually an archive of the sketches, so yes. I put it next. So I said, well, I don't want a photography book because that's been offered to me by Steinhall in Germany, by Random House, by Rizzoli, by all the big publishers since the past 20 years. Nicolas Jurnjack, you should do a book, a coffee table book with all your hairstyle. Well, guys, there is internet today. And you can see all the hairstyles. You don't need to buy a coffee table book where I'm going to pack my very best 30 years work. I honestly, no, thank you. So I said, if I do one day a book, for whatever reason, I'd rather talk to my industry or to the young kids or to people who love doing hair. I'd rather have a conversation for their own profit, you know, so what is the industry today? What was the industry before? What is the future of this industry? What is your desire? How I became creative. I lay down on the sofa. I'm having an Earl Grey tea, and then I'm seeing a shadow of a plant on the wall. It's giving me an idea of the new shape I would love to create with hair. How do you work your creativity? How you cook your creativity to be served after, etc. I was in the book. We're talking about studio experience. When you turn up on the studio at 8 a.m. with a girl who hasn't washed her hair for like 10 days, and you're going to have to deliver shiny, beautiful hair. I'm talking about hair campaigns. Our director from a huge advertising company who was selling cars 2 months ago, and they end up in the hair division of an advertising company, sitting in front of the screen and say, are you sure about the fringe? I'm talking about, I mean, you know all that anyway.
Oh, my God.
But I'm talking, in this book, I'm talking about all kinds of experience that I had. The good ones, the amazing ones, the one that I'm still today thinking that I was so lucky, and I'm also talking about the totally nonsense of situations. That you're in Tahiti shooting for Vogue. It's pouring rain, and you got the fashion editor who's telling you shine, wavy, glossy, and volume. And you've been trying to work your curly iron, your dry shampoo, and nothing works. Nothing works, and everybody's sitting in front of you and telling you, but why it doesn't work?
Yes.
And you know, in this type of situation, I don't even get an answer. It is. I'm just looking at these people and say, guys, it's 90% humidity. It doesn't work. No, it has to work. It has to work.
Of course it has to work. So it's called A Fashion Hairstylist Journey of Creativity. That's the title?
Yes. The title is In the Air, like a radio station, but it's not on the air. It's in the air. That's
All
the
right.
title of the book.
Yes.
And we could say that some kind of subtitle will be a fashion, yes.
A fashion hairstyle.
Yeah, the book is in English.
Yes.
Yes.
Good.
Yes. It's really, I'm not doing the promotion of that book over the radio talking to you, Sharon, because I have way too much respect for you to do that.
I'm just thinking about me wanting it.
you know, this book is really, it's really no egomania. I know I didn't make friends because in some of the chapter, I'm telling the reality of what it is.
Yes.
When you sit down on 555 Broadway, New York, and you've got L'Oreal proposing you a pile of $1 million to be the huge creative director of the company, but you understand you will sell your soul.
Yes.
You will sell and that will make you miserable. And then in the middle of the meeting, I walk down the stairs, go to smoke a cigarette on Broadway, go back up 10 minutes later and say, guys, you picked up the wrong guy for that. It's not going to work between us.
Wow.
And you leave the meeting. I'm telling stuff like that. I'm telling the truth. I'm not like a Don Quixote, or I'm not going into a crusade against evil or anything. I'm just telling the truth. When your agent knows that you cannot stand on your feet because you got 165 days of shooting non-stop back to back, and they're calling you and said, you jump in the plane tomorrow for a 16-hour flight for this job, and you tell them, no, guys, no, because if I don't breathe, it's not going to happen.
Be dead.
If you don't leave the horse rest at the stable, tomorrow you can racing. They don't care. They will tell you, or you go, or it's finished.
Yes, yes.
You know, it's. I'm just saying in that book, with no egomania, I'm telling the truth. I have to tell you, very, very interesting. In France, you need to submit your manuscript to lawyers for intellectual property, for case of court, if you mention name and anything. I had to take down 7 chapters.
Wow.
Because they told me there, if you tell these stories, you're in court.
You could be liable.
7 to 8 procedure for sure.
Yeah.
You're going to be shot down plane. You're going to be crucified if you do that. So we had to rewrote 2 or 3 times, couple of chapters. Because even telling what you think, you are not allowed in this industry, in the fashion, because you know how it is fashion. Sharon, they love you today. They hate you tomorrow. They love you again. And they hate you again. And then it's so unstable.
Yes.
So they told me, if you do that, you have to think about the future business, because if you publish that book in the States the way you did it, nobody will ever work with you, ever. No one.
Yes, I can imagine that. Well, I have absolutely loved chatting with you. I reckon we could go on for hours and hours and hours.
Oh,
I'm going
for a decade.
I'm going to make sure that I'm hoping you're going to be in New York when I'm there at the towards the middle end of March. It'd be lovely to try and catch up and have dinner or something like that. Or probably when I'm back in Europe, it'd be just wonderful to sit down and just chat and have a wine and talk hair. This has been incredible. I've just so valued your time today and your knowledge and I just can feel the passion just coming through the interview. It's great to see someone on the same page. It's just a pleasure.
I will just conclude saying one thing. I'm making people dream.
Yes.
But I do not give them anything else. You give them a future, a possibility to sustain their life, having food, paying their rent, because you teach skills for real.
Yeah.
You give them a future. I'm only give them glitters. you give them the real thing. You give them the possibility to learn here, to practice it, and to have a future. I only give them glitter.
Well,
so the crown is for you, Sharon.
Well, you give me the reason why I get up every day, because you keep me excited about the creativity and the artisticness. And that's what I guess, we all need someone to, to light our fire. We all need to be able to get some references or some excitement from other people. But you will do it anyway, Sharon. You will do it anyway because you have such a palette of image that you can blow anybody away with that. But you give them a future for real. Thank you.
You're next to them and you show them. Me, I'm just a bit of a glitter.
You're just Nicolas Jurnjack, and I think you're absolutely amazing. So, yes, thank you. Nicolas, I'm sorry it was such a challenge today to get this all started. I can't thank you enough for your time. I see you all rugged up with a scarf. So I know it's snowing in Paris at the moment, but it's
snowing.
It's about 40 degrees here in Australia. So I'll make sure I dip my toe in Bondi Beach for you. And hopefully that, sort of warm energy might head your way. Thank you once again so much. And let's keep in touch and let's try and connect in Rio somewhere around the world soon.
Oh, I'll be delighted.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Nicolas.
It'll be major. Thank you, Sharon, and all my love to you.
You too.
Because you're wonderful. What you do is wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you so much, Nicolas. I most appreciate that.
Bye-bye, Sharon.
Bye. I hope you enjoyed that Hairy Chat podcast with Nicolas. How amazing is that man? I am absolutely speechless. I can't tell you how I feel. I'm goosey all over. That was beyond the most amazing interview, and I hope you appreciate it as much as I did. Stay tuned for more Hairy Chats.